This is the Matt Report, the voice of WordPress entrepreneurship. If you're running a WordPress freelance business selling themes, plugins, or client services, this is the place for you. Learn more at mattreport.com and subscribe at mattreport.com/subscribe. And now, on to the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Matt Report. As always, I am your host, Matt, and this is the #1 WordPress business podcast in the entire universe. I always got to think of something, what's bigger than the galaxy, universe? I don't know, I haven't asked Scott, but I'm not good at the stars and planets and things like that. Today I'm joined by Dre Armeda, CEO and co-founder of Sucuri, and half the talent, I'd say, let's go 70% of the talent at the DradCast. For those who are listening, who are pro members of the Matt Report, if you are a pro member, you will get to enjoy Dre talking about A/B testing and finding the real data and not just guessing at how to improve your website performance, conversions, customers, and things like that. Want to find out more about Matt Report Pro? It's mattreport.com/join, and as always, /subscribe to join the mailing list. So Dre, as a man who needs no introduction, can you give us a 2-minute elevator pitch who you are and what you do?
My name's Dre. I like long beards and long walks on the beach. No, my name's Dre Armeda. Like you said, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sucuri Inc., which is a website security company, end-to-end solutions for everybody when it comes to security for your website. I've been around the WordPress space since 2004, where I built my first theme, and then actually created a services company around WordPress, and then that turned into the whole security piece. But I'm a 12-year Navy veteran, so I cut my chops in terms of tech and security and web stuff while I was in the Navy, actually overseas. I found WordPress when I was stationed in Naples, Italy. Not a lot of people know that. And I'm back in Southern California, got out of the Navy quite a few years ago now, and have had an exciting time building a company around security and WordPress being one of the platform of my choice, but certainly something that's been pinnacle in us growing our business from the early days. Awesome. What was it that you were? How did you find WordPress, or is that top secret? No top secret there. In fact, I'd gotten on the web. Actually, I was going on a deployment or workups for a deployment in the late '90s, and this work. I'll step back before WordPress, and I started designing some internal websites for my squadron. In fact, Chief Warrant Officer of Villarreal, I'll never forget it, walks up and said, "You're the resident IT, you're the geek. Here's a copy of Adobe Photoshop 4.5 and Microsoft, oh gosh, I don't even remember the name of the software to
Corel Draw back then.
Well, Microsoft's front page, you're going to create our intranet website." And I said, I had never done anything before remotely close to this. I was networking NT computers together, right? So that goes show my age a little bit. So I did that, and I fell in love with it. In fact, it turned into a hobby, and after that I started creating some design work and some web pages for folks. And then over the next few years, I've developed quite a nice portfolio, and I had a website that was very static, where I had iframes where I would update my news, and I'd have all these. Oh, it's just terrible. The floating. Crazy amount of tables, inline styles, and just awesome marquees and all this cool stuff, right? So I'm going, there's got to be a better way. So now we're 2003, 2004 time frame. I went through the gamut of different solutions that were out there, landed on WordPress. It seemed the easiest to get launched with a theme, not understanding PHP and stuff at the time, and I got it up and created my first theme. It's funny, you go back into the WordPress forums, and you'll see me back there in 2004 time frame. In fact, Otto, for those of you that know Otto, my user ID on the WordPress forums predates Otto's. So wow. That's what's up. Yeah, wow. Not that it was very productive or constructive for anybody. It was me asking dumb questions. But yeah, I created my first theme, and off we went with WordPress. Man, I never looked back. It's been a very, very important part of my life ever since, and it's helped me become who I am in terms of my development, my design, my business interests, and certainly what I do online with websites.
That's awesome. Some of the most successful folks that I've sat down and talked to, Nathan Hangen, your counterpart Brad, have all come from serving in the U.S. Military, Navy, Army, all this stuff. So thank you for that, of course.
My pleasure.
But can you explain how that has prepared folks that haven't been exposed to this before?
Well, the military in general, you will look at things completely different after a successful tour. Now, can't speak for those knuckleheads that get kicked out with doing some funny stuff, but I'll tell you that the way that you approach things is very regimented. You end up focusing on something, and there is no whether there's an easy path or not to get to that end result, you're certainly going to strive and do everything possible to get there. And I think that that's something that the military certainly prepared me to do. That was something that we certainly set out when we finally said, let's make this a business, for example, with security. But we want this to be successful. So we set goals, and we sometimes we didn't know how to get there, but we surely found a path. We created a way to get there, and I think that intuitive kind of thinking, that creative type of approach to any difficulty or challenge that you face, the military certainly prepares you for, and along the way instilling certain disciplines to help you. Right? You need those tools as well.
Yeah. Nathan Hagen had a phrase that he got from the services: "Embrace the suck. If it sucks, too bad. Embrace it. Find a way to work through it." And
yes.
It's certainly not being out in certainly combat or being deployed, but running a business sucks at times when you first start off.
Yeah,
and there's nothing you can do but to charge through and keep going.
Yeah, mine was suck it up, but keep your head on a swivel. I mean, it's like, you're always kind of just being very mindful of what's going on, even when it's at its lowest point, right? Mm. Oh, I can certainly appreciate his comment.
You have another pillar to the foundation, which you're affluent in the arts of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right?
Just starting.
So, give folks how that actually, translates into, work-life balance and to your job and to your overall life goals.
Oh my gosh! Wow. So first off, for those of you that don't understand Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's known as the gentle art. It isn't striking. It isn't MMA, although foundationally it is one of the crucial parts of successful MMA people. What it is it's a type of grappling. It was brought in by the Gracie family. There was a combination of judo and stuff. There was anyway, a very long history from Brazil. But it's all grappling. It's locks. It's choking people the hell out. But it's amazing because it's like chess on the mat. It is a very, very, for all the physical things that it brings. I mean, it has strengthened my core. I have lost 50 pounds or so since last summer training. But it's a very cerebral sport. It's very strategic, and what that brings to your everyday is almost a calming kind of feeling. I don't know how to explain it, Matt. You look at problems or challenges that you face, and you're able to kind of think through them, and you're kind of thinking beyond them now. And I think that the military helped me with that, but certainly jiu-jitsu has helped me kind of focus and has calmed me down, if you will. So from work-life balance, I go nuts. I like working hard, and that doesn't necessarily translate to hours, but I mean just crushing. Let's get through these things. And when you get through those things, you get time for stuff, but sometimes you don't. If I don't get on the mat at least an hour a day, I'm like freaking out. In fact, about a week ago, I slipped a disc. This wasn't through training. I got hurt, and I've been off the mat for about a week and a half now, and I'm like depressed. It's this thing. It's so addictive because you're in there, and it's not just working out. You're at the same time you're learning technique. There is a journey to it, and I just can't talk enough about it. I think it certainly translates to your everyday. It calms you down. It helps you make decisions in a calm life.
Because I mean, I don't want to talk so much about of course the sport, but what I think was most amazing to me, because the designer on our team, Paulo, he also practices and trains. It's about taking the person down to the mat and then doing the fight there versus what you see in a movie where it's just like everybody standing up and swinging at each other.
I have a couple videos of a couple competitions. I competed twice now, in fact. I took bronze at both events, which is exciting for me. You start out standing. There is takedown. There is some judo-esque type things there. Throws, shooting like wrestling, even jumping into guarded air, controlled positions, but it does go to the ground. Now, when you think of fights in general, they say that somewhere around 83% fights end up on the ground. So if you have some type of way to intelligently defend yourself on the ground, you have the likelihood of being able to get away from a certain altercation like that. So from a self-defense perspective, it's a very, very neat thing to have in terms of your arsenal of ways to defend yourself.
So let's talk about intelligently defending yourself. one of them being security and WordPress and the security of WordPress. Where did the thought come from? What was product one like of Sucuri?
Sad, really. But that was the exciting thing, is whether it was sad or not, we had an idea and an inclination, a thought that maybe this is something that people needed, and we did it. Right? It was like we're never going to know unless we test it live, unless we get it to people. So dating back a little bit, our founder, who I'm a co-founder with, Daniel Sid, is a walking like security encyclopedia. The guy's just insane, right? I met him when I got out of the Navy. I went and worked for another technical startup. It was an information security startup named Applied Watch Technologies. I was running engineering for the organization. We were doing integrations with open source software and putting an interface in front of it so that large enterprise organizations, security organizations, had a way to intelligently manage their security suite of network tools. One of those tools was OSEC HIDS. It was a host intrusion detection system that Daniel Sid wrote. And that's where we met. This was like 2006, 2007 time frame. Well, the company I was at was acquired, and he went on to actually sell the project off to Trend Micro. So that he went to work there, but we kept in touch. And all the while, I was moving along in my website kind of world. I had security experience through the military. So we would always, and through Applied Watch, we would always bounce ideas off of each other. And he said, it'd be a really interesting thing to be able to take kind of the principal ideas or the thought and architecture behind what we were doing with host intrusion detection systems to the web and find a way to manage or monitor websites for malicious activity remotely. So what can we create in terms of signatures and definitions that we can go ping a website in some way and see those results, and then based on the results that we get back, if it matches one of our bad signatures, we can alert the user, and then they can make a decision as to what they want to do there. But that, in its initial state, that was the concept. There wasn't any cleanup. There wasn't a firewall. There wasn't backups. There wasn't any of this other stuff there. And we tested. In fact, the first website, you can probably find online, is really scary. It's this black hat, like all black website. It looks like a hacker's website. You're like, all right, this is cool, and it's a security tool, but like if you want to sell this, like no one's going to buy from this site. You realize that. So that's, Daniel and I bouncing ideas off of each other. Did
you guys make that determination together, or did somebody tell you, like, you guys are crazy, like, you got to make this look more?
No, I told him that. So, like, he had created the software, and in fact, we started doing beta testing in it, like, early 09. So he was testing it throughout that year, and we were testing on different websites. We sold our first service plan in February of 2010. So this was at the time we were selling it for like $7 a month. Right, $7, which is actually relatively close to what we're selling it now, but for different reasons now. It was $7, and it was at the time just monitoring. We added the remediation a little bit later, and at that point he's like, dude, I really want to take this, further. We've created some really cool stuff here. What do we do? I said, well, let's formalize this. Let's partner up. Let's found this thing. Let's make it a company. I'll take the front end. I'll put this in front of my network of folks. I'll push it as hard as I can. I'll redesign the front end. We'll put a dashboard to it, and we'll start putting actually some marketing efforts behind it. All the while, so he's doing all the actual research for the malware stuff. He's doing the back-end development. We're bouncing those ideas off of each other. So I'm like, hey, maybe we should add notifications through Twitter. Maybe we should do this. And so slowly start building that. And then his sister came on to help us with it a little bit later. So after that started working, we're like, wow, okay. So then someone really bought it, and it's really working. What the hell do we do next? So everything's going to PayPal. So we're like, this is so cool. There's actually money in there. Like someone bought this. Well, remediation becomes a concern now, right? So like they're infected. So how do we clean that up? So we started adding that in. In fact, the early days, we didn't have an automated dashboard. We didn't have a support team. We didn't have a ticket system, none of that stuff. So it was via email. We'd get their credentials. We'd log into FTP. We would upload some cool little scripts, and we would just analyze every single file there and just manual process, which was totally archaic, really challenging to kind of get to these sites. So it was very slow moving. But that's where we started. And from there, we started to add resources. We started to look at ways to automate that. We created a full dashboard and then a ticketing system where they could submit these tickets, and then now they have it in our system. We can come in and systematically go through each one of these tickets and respond and so on. So
and this is just the both of you, right? At this point, or the you and his sister, right?
Yeah. Well, his sister hadn't started yet.
Okay.
His sister started shortly thereafter. When we started remediating, we're like, dude, we need help. So we still have full-time jobs. At that point, I'm working for Southern California Gas Company. I'm running their information security awareness and training team, and Daniel's at Trend Micro. So this is just a side thing. At the same time, I had started Cubic 2, which Cubic 2 was a website, a WordPress services company, and I started that with Tony. And that's kind of how Tony and I started doing business together. So for those that don't know, Tony and I are related by marriage. He's my brother-in-law. He's married to my sister. So he saw my excitement around WordPress and everything I was doing there after I got out of the Navy. And then we decided, hey, let's put a services company together. I was already doing it on the side anyways. Let's formalize it and make it a bigger thing. From there, that was going. At the same time, he's working full-time. He was in Afghanistan at the time, contracting. He had gotten back and was working for Hewlett-Packard for a little bit, and he was doing some operational stuff there for them. Daniel's working at Trend Micro. I'm working at the gas company, and this thing's kind of starting to take off. Tony and I looked at each other and went like, well, Cubic 2 doesn't make sense anymore. That's at the point where, well, let's step back a second. At that point, I'm talking to Daniel, and we're seeing all this stuff starting to grow in terms of accounts. There were some major outbreaks with like a couple of hosting providers that will remain nameless. They came asking us for help. So all of a sudden, revenue's going through the roof. Our client base is growing like at a ridiculous rate. We're going, well, shit, how do we manage this operationally, one, and financially, right? So we don't know what the hell we're doing in terms of like really growing business from a financial perspective. Operation, I mean, sure, we could throw more resources at it, but how do we really grow that in a sustainable way? Maybe we need to bring, in some support. And at that time, I know Tony's background. I'm working with Tony, and he's a trusted source, which in fact, that's been a huge challenge for us because we are a security company, is bringing in resources. Now we have processes in place to do that. But at that time, we're going, like, this is a baby. There's not many competitors in the market, and we've got some really cool IP here going. We need to have trusted sources only. At this point, we asked Tony to come in to help us on a monthly retainer to help us with, start working through finances and stuff like that. And little by little, that's now we're moving into 2011. Things are growing. It's getting better. We're about like January. We're probably February of 2011, and we're going, guys, if we're really serious about this, the revenue trends are showing well. Our new client trajectory is pretty good. It's sustaining and growing every month. Everything seems to be growing at a really, really nice pace. We need to really make some decisions here around bringing on one of us at least full time to start hammering it at pretty good. And if we do just one at a time, we'll be able to maybe sustain that risk of, maybe work through that risk a little bit. So here we are. Tony and I are the lead organizers for the first WordCamp at San Diego in 2011, and a week before that, I pulled the plug for the gas company, and I'm full-time at Sucuri. So I walk into the first WordCamp San Diego, we throw together, and I'm going, well, here we are. I work for Sucuri full-time. And from there, by the end of the year, I mean, revenue in itself, I mean, the growth rate was just, I mean, it was a hockey stick at that point. It was growing so fast because there were so many malware issues that by that August, Tim Thumb hit. I think it was that August Tim Thumb hit, and we were the only real company out there that was able to help folks. So by January of 2012, all three of us were full-time. Daniel's sister, Karen, who's been amazing, she's full-time with us now, and she's been there with us from the beginning, was working with us and remediating tickets and helping through customer service and stuff. I'll tell you, it's been a family ordeal, really, if you look at it that way, in a good way, the whole time.
That's awesome. I didn't even realize that. Even seeing you guys out at like Pressnomics and stuff, and just being connected for so long, I didn't realize that he was a brother-in-law. That's awesome because I family business right here, right? My mom, sure. my dad, my cousins, the operations. So awesome. It's definitely hits home for me. How did you guys think when it was three of you? I mean, it must have been a little stressful, right? When there's three of you, like,
a little
all over the place, and you're charging $7 a month. You need like 3,000 customers to give yourself a modest living between the three of you over the course of the year.
So those things had changed already by then. So there was already some changes by then. By the end of 2010, we had instituted a few different service plans. One which you still actually see today. The $89.99 for our premium one website is by end of 2010 is what we put in place. Then we jumped from there to 10 and then 30 websites. So the pricing, and it was still skewed, jumped. Actually, hell, if you went for 10 websites, you were getting a hell of a deal. And in fact, it didn't scale really well at the time. And that carried on through the end of 2011, where we had at that point decided to go and change pricing. We saw a big gap in between the 1 to 10, right? And this is just, people were like, hey, we've got 2 or 3 websites, but we can't justify going to your 10 or 30 plan. And we were getting that so much, we went, well, shit, there's a huge gap there between 1 and 10. Let's split that. We'll have a five website plan, and we'll go 1, 5, and 10, and we'll see where it goes. And instantly, it just blew up. That plan, that middle power plan, was seeing conversions like nobody's business.
So you were mostly getting the consultant, right? That's finding you to hook into that, because a one-off customer would be like, if a real estate agent, they'd be like, well, I only need 1, so I'm only going to sign up for 1.
Right, but what we were finding was a lot of those folks that would sign up for 1 eventually wanted to upgrade. We didn't have a good upgrade path. Oh, they had maybe 2 or 3 websites, 4 websites. Only 1 was infected at the time. But then they saw the value in having all of them kind of managed and monitored, so they would want an upgrade, and we wouldn't have that ability. So we put that middle path. We created 1. We created an internal upgrade path, and 2, we changed the plans to have a 1, 5, and 10 plan externally, and we saw that just blow up overnight. So that was January 2012. And it was just a great move. And that was a lot of research and thinking, through some of the discussions that we were having with customers. And the decision was made. We put it live, very scared, because we didn't know. We hadn't done any real pricing changes at the time, and we didn't have any real data to go off. Just basic word of mouth of what people were telling us.
Right.
And it worked. It was the right thing to do. So by then, we were seeing a pretty good steady revenue stream, and with a nice upward trajectory.
So let's fast forward to from that scenario to where you are today. How did you become the dominant force in WordPress security, and how big is the company today?
I would say, from a website security perspective, we have gotten to where we're at by approaching our marketing and our community efforts grassroots. We've never spent a high dollar amount on advertising, so we're now starting to play with AdWords and things like that, because we're really trying to maximize our footprint more than profit or revenue from those streams, right? We want to make sure that people are kind of seeing that the service is there. That's a helpful tool. But we have done things like this, Matt. We've talked to great folks like you about WordPress and how important security is, and how it's everybody's responsibility, and that there is a true potential risk out there, and that everybody's a target, and that we need to do things a little bit better, and all that fun stuff, and let people know that, hey, we're still here for you in the event that you get into a bad situation. I've spoken at close to probably 50 WordCamps at this point. We do other events as well. We're out there on the street talking to people. We're putting out pretty strong, and sometimes people don't care for the type of content that we put out, but we put some pretty strong content around latest trends, latest outbreaks, some of that code, and we're really just trying to help the community understand that these things are happening, and for them to better arm themselves. By being that type of company, we have seen some great successes.
In terms of the marketing, are you looking at just straight up Google ads? Are you doing any kind of anything you can share there with sort of your tactic behind ads for folks who might just want to advertise their theme business, something like that?
So yeah, we're putting some strong efforts into AdWords specifically, right? And going through and creating ad campaigns, creating ad groups, and words and phrases and such that make sense for the folks that we're targeting, and the communities that we're targeting, and putting ads out there and seeing how they're pushing. The idea there is to funnel them into our system in based on it's the regular AdWords kind of stuff. How do I get them into my funnel, or what specific funnel based on what they're looking for, such, and then move them down and ensuring that we're maximizing conversions, right? Nice. But in terms of like ads on websites and stuff, not something that we've really touched with. Will we down the road? Yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of our ads go out in the past. I haven't really done too much with it to maximize there, so really just focusing on AdWords now, and then from there some retargeting stuff and the typical retargeting kind of approach and campaign. But we haven't done any of that. At this
Yeah.
point, it's been really organic.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're doing I think you mentioned this before. You're doing some of the community sponsorship behind WordCamps and of course the monthly probably WordPress meetups as well, buying pizzas and stuff like that. And you found that to be a beneficial route to go.
Not so much the sponsorship, Matt. To be quite frank, I don't mind supporting. We have sponsored quite a bit of WordCamps, not as many in the last probably year. But getting out there and speaking about security and talking to people about their security issues is really where I think that the real strong kind of thought around security lies. Not so much throwing some money at folks. That's only helpful so far, right?
Mm.
I can come in and show you or show a group of folks that, look, this is the latest stuff that we're seeing, and if you do these things, you're going to minimize your risk of contracting these little, funny, rotating Viagra ads.
Right.
There's value there, right? Like
right.
They go, holy cow, these guys are really trying to help us, and we are, and I think that's where the value is. Certainly, we support WordCamps. We love the idea of the community getting together. That's been a big part of my life and my involvement with WordPress. I've met a lot of my closest, dearest friends at WordCamps over the last 5 years, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But the sponsorship money, certainly, it's if you're sponsoring thinking that you're going to see a high return, a WordCamp. If you're sponsoring a WordCamp thinking you're going to see a high return, you might want to readdress your whole marketing strategy in terms of events and stuff, because you're not going to. It's not a hard sell. It never will be, and that's not the purpose of sponsoring a WordCamp. The purpose there is to help that WordCamp be successful, and with that comes some cool stuff, and some branding things, and so, although there are some changes, legal changes going on with that as well in the community, because they are a 501 or 503, excuse me. It is what it is. I think that the value is really going out there and entrenching yourself in the community and helping them understand the things that maybe you're good at.
Right, and then a lot of folks aren't even using it as the end game to kind of convert on their product, but they might be just trying to raise their impression awareness for their business to either hire new folks that are attending WordCamps, to find new talent, that kind of thing. Very few of them are hoping that they can actually find their potential client or customer there.
I see a lot of value in that, right? So if you're looking as a talent acquisition tool, I think you've got a great opportunity if you're hitting a lot of the bigger WordCamps, right? We haven't hired too much directly from the WordPress community. We do have a couple that I specifically met, and Tony specifically met through WordPress. But I think it's a great tool, especially for the more WordPress-specific products, organizations, and services out there. It's a no-brainer. You've got amazing pool of talent to go, and the investment is really minimal for you to go out there, learn about the community, get involved with the community that you're building a business around, and start to really rub shoulders with the talent from that community.
Is it because that security, it doesn't really matter if they just if they're like a hardcore WordPress developer, they just kind of need to know like system level stuff and security based access rules? What's the prime candidate to be hired by Sucuri?
So it depends on what you're being hired in for, right? So we've got our support team, our security support team, which is doing all the remediation and working through that. We got a products team that's working and troubleshooting product issues. So let's say, for example, you come in and set up cloud proxy or firewall product, and you're having some DNS problems, or you see a bug, or something just doesn't seem right. You would work with them. So they're gonna, there's a broad range of things. We've got developers that are working. Some of them are ops, so they're more deeper rooted in system type development stuff. And then we've got PHP developers. We've got research guys, which are just looking for the really, really nasty stuff out there. So it really depends on what our need is at the time when we're hiring, what we'll be looking for. So it can be a broad range of things. We've got support folks, external sales support, that are doing nothing but pre-sale stuff, right? And talking through potential clients and helping them understand the problems. Because oftentimes people come to us and say, I've got this problem and it's Viagra ad, but they don't understand what's going on. So we're helping them understand kind of what their issues are, so they can make good, sound business decisions around what they need to do to limit any of the potential batfall that comes with being infected with that Viagra ad, right? So we've got a range of folks, and it just really depends the instance in terms of what we're hiring for and what we're looking for in that candidate.
So many different, some various amounts of departments that people can go into. You support many platforms. It's not just WordPress.
Certainly.
It's Joomla. It's Drupal. It probably could be.
Let me throw this out there because people think we're WordPress only, and that's flattering because I've got a WordPress tattoo. Like I love WordPress, but we are platform agnostic. We work, although we don't like working with .NET, we can work with any of it, right? If it's live on the internet, if it's infected with malware, we will crush that malware. Then that's the reality.
So you find yourself one day, 3 guys part-time working separate jobs, to all of a sudden now, which seems like a sizable company. How many employees do you have roughly?
We're right around 30. So
30 employees. You go from 3 part-time guys, kind of side job stuff, to now you have various products, 30 people to manage. What's going on in your mind as you scale, and how have you been dealing with it? Have you been turning to anybody in a mentorship fashion? Do you have outside advisors that come in to help you out? How does that work?
Whiskey is just the dish. No. Joking aside, we do have some advisors that we're very happy to work with. A lot of great reading, a lot of great resources out there. I mean, you for example, look at the stuff that's happened over at WP Engine and how they've grown. I use them as an example because they're a company that's a WordPress-based company that started fairly small, but then took a funding round and has some great leadership, and they've built some great partnerships and stuff there. And they've been very successful. They've done things that you've never seen in the WordPress community. And I think that's a good way to kind of look at some of the potential places that you could be if you continue working. You could start as a small, service shop, a theme shop, what have you. But you look at what Mr. Cohen's done over there. I mean, like it's possible. It's just a matter of continue to work through all the challenges you're going to face, which you're going to face a lot.
And so let's talk about the security, a WordPress security market, product, services, things like that. It now seems, at least in the last 6 months or so, a lot of little plugins popping up, or folks venturing off into new sort of security verticals. Somebody comes knocking on your door as either a customer. This was a 2-part question. So either as a customer, like, hey, what do you guys do? Or an investor kind of scenario, like, hey, we want to get to kind of know you. Do you look at yourself as, well, we're like a Cloudflare, we're just a big security fence that will filter you? Do you see yourself competing at that level with like a Cloudflare, or is it more like, oh yeah, we compete against these other local WordPress security businesses?
I think that the great questions. By the way, I think that these are fundamentally different things that we're all doing. When you look at what we're doing with Cloud Proxy, our web application firewall, that is certainly something that my argument is that it's better than anything that Cloudflare is putting out there in terms of firewall product. Not a CDN, not a performance thing. Cloudflare is awesome at that. But in terms of a firewall, I would certainly say we compete at that level. When you start looking at the other products that we offer, these aren't plugins. We have a plugin as part of our service. When we take security, and where we want people to start thinking about security is at the edge, outside of their website, because the problems are bigger than that. A plugin, a good plugin, can help you. A security plugin can help you with certain things on your WordPress instance. It cannot help you across your entire server. And that's the challenge that people don't understand. It's like, well, I've got WordFence, or I've got this other awesome plugin. They're all great in their own right. I'm not saying that they're not. But don't be mistaken to think that they're going to cover you for all the things that you need from a security perspective. We start talking about brute force and DDoS and all that, and that's great because we're blocking WP admin and all those cool little tricks. That's at your website level. What happens to all the traffic coming in there, and it's bombarding, and now an availability issue that those plugins couldn't stop. So we need to think broader, we need to think bigger, and that's where we are trying to take security. We are taking security in terms of for websites. Is we need to think beyond that. We need to become more proactive, and we need to do this at the edge. We need to do this before that traffic can actually infiltrate and attack your site or your server. If you've got 10 websites on your server, let's drop that back. You've got 3 pieces of software on your server. You've got WordPress. Let's say you're running vBulletin, and take your choice of whatever other software you want to throw in. It's all integrated, and that's your website experience. You've got your forms, all this cool stuff. WordPress has got all these plugins and kick-ass, and nothing's infecting there because nothing has happened there. It's all updated and everything else. But vBulletin gets a virus if you haven't updated or you haven't done what you need to do there. Maybe you don't understand the software. That gets infected. Guess what gets hit? Everything. It's all hit. Let's say let's say exactly that scenario. What happens if you've got other websites on that server? So now not only has that WordPress instance and that vBulletin and that other piece of software got nailed, but the 3, 4, 5 other websites that you have on that same shared server just got crushed. So we need to think bigger picture than just plugins. Plugins are cool for certain things, but in most of my discussions, I call it WordPress security, kill the noise. I don't use any plugins on my site at this point because I'm putting it behind a firewall. I'm restricting access to just those that need access, right? I don't have 10 admin users. I don't have 20 people with FTP access or SSH. I'm doing the things that we need to do to reduce risk. Make sure that your stuff's updated, not storing a bunch of crap on my server, right? Password management, make sure I have strong passwords, two-form authentication. It's those security principles that are going to help you, along with making sure that you're stopping that bad stuff from hitting your server altogether. So plugins are cool, but I think that we rely on them way too heavily.
So do you see yourself more as a security platform or a plug and play kind of product where you can say, oh, I need security, plug me in, but then they say, well, I can't plug you in unless I have server access, and then I can't plug you in if I don't have some kind of system in place at your own business, like you're not doing passwords correctly, you're sharing the wrong information. Like at what point, like where do you go? What's your most what's the favorite thing you like to snuggle up with? Is it being a platform or is it being sort of that plug and play stuff?
We are a website security service company, is what we are. So we offer software as a service. We offer a website application firewall. Right? That's all you're doing is basically it's a DNS change, and we're managing all that for you in the cloud. Okay? So we're looking at all that traffic, all that fun stuff, and stopping it. You can log into Sucuri if you've got that in front of your website and do things like whitelist IP addresses to come into your WP admin. We take a whitelist approach. We block everything first and then allow the stuff that needs to come in, right? So it's very, very contrary to a lot of the practices that you see out there. But it's services based. From there, we can monitor your website, because in the instance that you have that firewall on that one website, but you have another website on that same server that gets exploded by those Viagra ads, we can still monitor your website, and from there we'll alert you if it gets infected, and we can still come in and remediate you. These are all services that we offer, along with backups, which is very important, but remote backups, and that's something that we want to really harp on. Is a lot of folks store their stuff locally on their servers, which as an attacker, a couple of first things you're probably going to do is you're one, you're going to destroy backups when you destroy their website, and two, you're going to destroy all the access and error logs, so people don't know that you're there. So all that stuff kind of goes away. We need to start thinking about multiple backups in multiple places away from your production environments. So we offer services. We offer a full service website security service suite is what we do.
Yeah, I worked at an ISP for about 7 years, so they actually took that approach where they just blocked everything, which sort of was a nightmare sometimes with people not being able to access certain things. But it was sort of that block everything, and then we'll open up what comes through. In 2013, Sucuri acquired a company called Unmasked Parasites. We talk about sort of all these different little plugins that are out there for WordPress. Is Sucuri looking at other folks like, even though they only do like a basic evaluation of security, or they do this basic like brute force block, is that something you keep your eye on for potential acquisitions and things like that?
I'm always open to talk to folks. I'll tell you that. Are we actively looking at or actively in acquisition discussions with anybody? No, not at the moment. But always interested to see what's out there. Always interested to see great products, right? Always interested to be able to help where there's a great product and we could somehow successfully assist them in growing that or introducing that into our products, into making it something great, right? We feel pretty strongly around the things that we're doing, whether it's brute force, DDoS, and so on, and we're continually improving that with the team that we have on board now. Unmasked Parasites made a lot of sense. We've known Dennis, who created that, and he's an amazing researcher for years, and I think that's what enabled that whole thing to kind of work, is that we've helped each other. We've worked with each other since I can remember, and it was a logical fit. He was doing scanning just like we were scanning. We were often talking about definitions and stuff. It made sense. So we said, let's combine forces. He's now one of our lead researchers, and I got to meet him in person here at our SecurityCon, if you will, in January in person, and it's just a great great dude, really smart, and it made sense for us to bring that in. So in that instance, exactly that, right? If there's a service, a product, a plugin, we've looked at and had discussions in the past, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Sometimes it does.
Let's talk about WordPress. WordPress community in general. So I'm going to go right at you with this one. Feel free to get me in a leg lock, arm bar, hoist grade, whatever the moves are that you see fit. So over the years, we've seen how pivotal WordPress relationships can be, from Matt Mullenweg being around a very close core set of WordPress developers in the early days, and then seeing some of the spin-off that those developers have been able to build with their businesses, Automatic and agencies in the early days, of the beta programs of VIP partnerships and things like that. In fact, I have an interview coming out this week of the VP of Automatic Product and Services that should be really interesting. To big theme shops, being connected with communities and sort of getting the in with folks. You recently positioned DradCast a partner with WP Engine. How do you see this sort of brand partnership in the long term for all brands involved, WP Engine, Sucuri, and Web Dev Studios?
We've positioned with Torque.io, which has been great, and they are a media outlet for WordPress. I think a great one and a growing one. They certainly do have a background and backing by WP Engine. I think that it's very different than the relationships that you may have been talking about, and some of those business entities that have formed, grown, partnered, ate each other up, what have you, over the years. Our play on DradCast has never been one for profit. It is never going to be one for profit. It is one because Brad and I never shut the hell up. We love WordPress, and we love talking to really, really bright people, a lot brighter than us in the WordPress community. And beyond that, we would like to see that show stem into something larger than just WordPress. Hence the agnostic name. There's no WP, WordPress, nothing in there. And we think we have the ability to do that and really talk about some really cool stuff and some really amazing folks like we're doing now. To do that, we have day jobs. We have things that we do have business with that we are creating for financial gain, and those need to stay very, very clear, right? Although you'll see some integration or interaction, which is I think normal because we're part of the show and we're both business owners. Those are very separate, and to be able to get into a great relationship with a growing media outlet in the WordPress world, it made a lot of sense for us. There isn't a lot of syndication going on with podcasts yet. There isn't a lot of great podcasts yet. There's a few of them. Matt Report, one of them. Us, the Cooler. There's a few of them that are starting to grow. We need more of that. We felt that for us, being able to get with an organization that had strong processes and a growing audience, it made sense in tandem to have kind of the written long form type stuff, along with some video and audio interaction. I think we both grow together as media stuff. Doesn't mean that there can't be more of that, right? Right. But I think it's very different than the business relationships that you see across the WordPress landscape.
Right, and so my next question is sort of based off that answer, and I'll wrap it with the context of I think that it is what it is when you guys make a great partnership with Torque to align yourself with the media, and I think that a lot of folks just have to take a step back and say, hey, look, this is what happens, right? This is what happens. Like there's no wrong, and as a media guy myself, I'm like, damn, but we're competitive, right? We're friends and we're competing for like audience, and even though we, like you said, there's only 4 or 5 major WordPress podcasts, and we're all sort of fragmented throughout the week and the month, if you would. And I look back, I'm like, damn, they got a great brand alignment. But I'm just going to work harder on my own end to promote myself too. Do you
Matt, that means, so one, if you're looking for something like that, I'm not saying that you are or aren't. I think that validates that if you're putting out good enough content that people care about, that there's always an opportunity there. So don't sweat the small stuff. Right. Be excited about it, because what's exciting for us may be exciting for you. And I'm not saying that to you directly. I'm just saying for anybody out there listening is the opportunity is there. It's only as good of an opportunity as you let it be. So if you're down with it, rock and roll, keep on trucking, put out kick-ass content, and it will come.
Right. And same thing with product, right? And services that we provide in the WordPress space. WordPress is weird, right? We're all like, hey, we all love each other. It's kumbaya. It's all this great stuff. But then sort of at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, when you get at the bigger level with more acquisitions coming, let's say, I don't know, Norton comes out with a WordPress plugin, and now you're like, oh, God, now I got to compete against Norton antivirus. We're in a weird position now where it's like, we're all sort of maturing after 10, 11 years in this business. Where do you think it's going as far as sort of acquisitions and sort of starting to see some competition boil up to the top?
I think you're going to, in the services world, you're going to continue to see. So it's neat to see how it's actually went. Tony and I had a very candid discussion when we started Cubic 2. And we said, man, it would be really interested to make some type of services conglomerate where we can create teams, process, and an approach to hitting large enterprise to small organizations that need WordPress, theme development, plugins, etc. How would that look like? We're so small now. We're starting to grow. What if we partnered up with the WDSs or the crowd favorites? And this is 2011, right? And what are you seeing now? We're gone from that business. We're in the security business, but we giggle because we're like, holy cow! Exactly what we talked about and thought about is exactly what we're seeing now. That is normal process. I think it's a normalcy that you're going to continue to see in the WordPress world. Whether it's theme shops, plugins, whether it's these great service companies that are starting to penetrate into large organizations and enterprises because WordPress is growing into that. We're going to continue to see it. When we talk enterprise, it's funny. Most people think enterprise as these big, giant external websites, right? That's not the case. So WordPress alone, anyways, WordPress has a lot of great opportunity within large organizations. I'm talking alongside of large document repositories and things like that to run informational websites, right? Controlled content with distributed creation of that content into organizations across the larger scheme of a Fortune 500, for example. We haven't penetrated there because the trust factor hasn't been built. And what these services companies are starting to do is penetrating to that world. Internal use of WordPress. And when we start thinking of that, we're talking about 20% of the web. That's great. But what about the percentage of large organizations running this internally? We have no idea what those numbers look like. But I think that's going to carry us into the future. And that's going to be a large play for WordPress for years to come. We're going to see the need for more plugins, more themes, more awesomeness. I think it's going to continue to grow, and you're going to continue to see these types of partnerships and integrations, acquisitions, mergers, and such as we continue to mature. It's natural progression.
That's awesome. And sort of the last question of the more formal interview, and this you might have just hit the nail right on the head. In your perspective, what's the biggest challenge WordPress faces, be it WordPress the product or WordPress the community? Is it sort of that education into the larger, like you said, 20% big deal? What happens when we get into corporate?
It's education, no doubt. I see two WordPress communities, or maybe a community and a sub-community. We are the sub-community. We're the developers, the designers. We're the service companies, the products and stuff around it. And then we have WordPress users, WordPress Nation, if you will. It's education of that because they are our strongest asset, at the same time our weakest link. Because of the lack of education, we get things into things like, WordPress is insecure, or this plugin sucks, or this one's great, and all this discussion that kind of is a hodgepodge of it's just weird, right? Like it kills trust in a lot of instances. And when you start to get in these large enterprise organizations that are looking for that, they're getting all that noise, and it's like, well, shit, I'm used to spending about 100% more on this product over here because it's closed source, but it's named Microsoft or it's named what have you. How am I going to trust an open source product that doesn't have a vendor behind it? It's a third-party organization running this. How does that work? So it's continue to educate the community, and over time we'll be fine. But it's got to be from all of us. We've all got to be responsible. Just like I tell people about the security piece. Like, look, kill the noise. Let's think through the principles. Let's keep what's right, and what's correct and fact, and everything else we need to just kind of throw out the window. If we can do that at large in the community, we'll be fine. It's just going to be a hell of a curve.
Yeah, awesome stuff. For those of you sticking around to the Matt Report Pro, Dre's going to stick around and talk about A/B testing and why that's super important for your business and conversions. We're going to launch into the last two segments real quick. What's in your toolbox? What app or SaaS product do you use to get your business done that most folks might not know about, like an Evernote, but maybe something a little bit more under the radar that you use on a daily basis?
I lost you there.
Nope. Are we still connected?
I think so. What was the last piece there? Sorry.
Yep. So what's in your toolbox? What app or SaaS product do you use that gets you through your business? Like an Evernote, but something maybe that's under the radar a little bit more.
Ooh, under the radar. I don't think it's under the radar anymore. We use HipChat for all of our internal discussions. Skype on the regular for, like, let's say our management chat and stuff. But HipChat's ridiculous. Like, it's super cool to chat with all of our teams and creating channels and stuff. And then Jira, which is actually created by the same folks, JIRA, which handles anything from our bugs to project management stuff. Ultimately. So that I've got running all the time, along with everything Google, which at this point, who really doesn't? In fact, I just put together a new MacBook Air, and I got rid of all my clients. So, like, I have no clients. I'm using Hootsuite. I'm using HipChat. I'm using all my Google stuff, all just in Chrome, and there you have it.
I hear you. HipChat's really awesome. I've been looking at that too for our stuff because it's super flexible and it's just cross-platform, works everywhere. It's awesome.
It's lightweight and pretty inexpensive as well.
Yeah. Lightning round, I'll ask you a series of quick questions. You'll have a series of quick answers. One plugin you cannot live without besides your own.
Oh, that's just terrible. I'd say Gravity Forms.
A favorite WordPress or business book that's not Brad's or Lisa's.
Oh, shoot. Man, why? I'd say Rework. Rework is something I've read like 3 times, dude. It's a pretty cool stuff out. 37 Signals Camp, good stuff. Actually, the Base Camp now because they've renamed and the whole thing. But Rework, killer book. I'd suggest certainly.
What's a quote you live or run your business by?
If you don't ask, you don't get.
That's a great one. What's the best business advice you've ever received or career advice you've ever received?
If you don't ask, you don't get.
And what's the longest, back in your days of doing WordPress services, what's the longest a client project ever took?
Oh, shit. I think it's still ongoing.
that's
no, that's terrible. I would say probably about 6 months.
If you had to switch to another CMS, what would it be?
I would go flat file, HTML.
Who should I interview next?
You should try Tony Perez.
That's a good one. Yes. Awesome stuff, Dre. It's been an amazing interview. Tons of knowledge dropped on the WordPress entrepreneurship community, so I thank you for that. Where can folks find you on the web to say thanks?
Well, for me personally, at Dre Armeda, DREMEDA. If you're looking for security services, which you should at least go check it out if you don't have something now, is sucuri.net, SUCURI.net.
Awesome stuff. For those who are watching the live show, this only happens once in a while. You can get the pro segment free because that's coming up next. For those listening on iTunes, you have to follow me at Matt Report to know when these awesome sessions go free and live. MattReport.com/join. Check that stuff out. See you on the flip side.